And it is my absolute pleasure to welcome you to the 5th edition of the Anglo Public Speaking Competition. This year, we are thrilled to have had 204 participants, representing 32 schools from across 8 states of Mexico. We split our speakers into 2 age-based categories. Category A, from age 11 to 15 years old. Category B, from 16 to 20 years old. The Anglo Public Speaking Competition continues to be one of the most impactful social impact programs of the Anglo Foundation, a non-profit Mexican institute that for 80 years has been dedicated to transforming lives by building bridges, fostering trust, and connecting cultures. This competition is living proof of that mission in action. Now we'll watch a video.
The Anglo Foundation. Transformamos vidas a través de la educación, arte y cultura. Promovemos la cultura y enseñanza del idioma inglés. Evaluamos y certificamos el idioma inglés. Preparamos a las nuevas generaciones para un futuro exitoso. Formamos a los profesores del mañana. Fortalecemos la colaboración bilateral entre México y Reino Unido, impulsando oportunidades artísticas y culturales. The Anglo Foundation, the Anglo Academy, the Anglo Assessment, the Anglo Churchill School and College, the Anglo Professional, the Anglo Arts and Culture. One Anglo.
Without any doubt, public speaking is more than just a performance. It's a declaration. It builds critical thinking, confidence, and most importantly, it empowers individuals to speak their truth. And stepping up to speak is no small feat. It takes courage. Now, it is our honor to welcome a key figure in the mission behind this competition. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to the Chief Executive Officer of the Anglo Foundation, Mr. Anthony McCarthy, who will now share a few words with us.
Thank you very much. I think it was shared right now, and it's very important to remind everybody that the foundation was founded more than 80 years ago. In fact, it was founded in 1943 during the Second World War. And at that time, you may all recall, Mexico joined the Allied cause after a couple of ships were sunk by the Blitzkrieg. And when Mexico joined, it had wonderful technicians, wonderful engineers, but it lacked English. So the communication between the Allies was very limited. So there was an initiative by the British community residing in Mexico and the British Embassy with the Mexican government to form the Anglo Foundation. So just to remind everybody, this is a foundation, it doesn't belong to anybody, but our main goal is precisely through education to change the lives of people. Today, so you get a sense of things through the Anglos, we tend for around 16,000 people taking classes to improve their English, and consequently, with that, improve their career aspects. We also have a school who's competing in this, which is a Churchill school with 1,200 students. And then through our area of assessment, mostly these are all of the exams for Cambridge, and that we should be handling this coming year around 70,000 exams throughout the country. So this obviously is a manner through English of trying to influence and improve our society, And this should generate, we hope, better opportunities for people in order for them to scale in their ambitions to be better people. Having said that, let me share with you, it was 5 years ago that in this same room, and if you look at the roof, this theater was built by a very renowned architect. His name is Felix Candela. And at the time, if you look at the structure, you'll see there were wooden pylons that would cross through, and that's the way they cemented this. So this is a protected property by the IMBA, and obviously, we take great care in basically accommodating the requirements of the authorities. This was built during the 50s, and today, amongst the adjudicators, is the grandson of one of the donators of the cement for this facility. So it's quite an honor to have you here, Chris, and we appreciate that. Well, it wasn't about me today, but what it's all about is the English-speaking competition. 5 years ago, another very fond friend of the community, an individual by the name of John Atherton, who regrettably passed away last year, he had been in charge of this competition for many years with a group of friends, and he decided to hand over the responsibility as well as the benefits of this to the foundation. And he was here seated in one of those chairs of the adjudicators, and I'm sure today he would be very happy to see the results of this. As was shared by the previous speaker, we now have 32 schools competing in this event from 8 states, and all in class, shall we say the minor class plus the top class, there's 204 competitors. As for this G section, we, the Anglo, will be covering the expenses in London for the person, and the travel, of course, for the person that wins this competition, because it's obviously in line with what the spirit was outlined here in terms of fostering an exchange between the UK and Mexico with regards to culture, arts, and this is clearly one of those activities. For us, it's an honor to have you all here. We recognize the tremendous effort, as was said initially, made by the parents and by you, the competitors, and we wish you all the best of luck. For me, having been here now 5 years as well, it's also quite an honor to see you all and to see the command of the language that most of you have. And I would like to give you all a very warm welcome. I wish you all the best of luck in this competition. You have a very good group, an unbiased group of adjudicators. And having said that, welcome to everybody and the best of luck to everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. McCartney. Before we begin, let's thank those who made all of this possible. On behalf of the Anglo Arts and Culture team, our gratitude goes to the great team of the Anglo Foundation. Special thanks to the people of the English-speaking Union watching us from London via our YouTube channel. And particularly to the brilliant adjudicators who will be helping us in today's competition and who will have the difficult task of choosing the winner from so much talent. Allow me to introduce them. Daniel Hernandez, Innovation Manager at the Anglo Academy. Carlos Castro, Business Development Manager, Assessment, Cambridge. Sorry, I made a mistake. Carlos Castro, Head of Development and Innovation at the Anglo Academy. Now our Business Development Manager Assessment in Cambridge, Mayra Flores. Rosalia Valero, Senior Assessment Services Manager, English, Cambridge. And Christopher Plummer, Board Associate of the Anglo Foundation. Thank you all for your time, care, and expertise. A big round of applause again to them. Thank you. Now, we would like to welcome back on stage a very special guest, Isabel Padron, the winner of the last year's Anglo Public Speaking Competition. We are thrilled to have you with us today. Welcome, Isabel.
Thank you. Hi, good morning. As she just said, last year I was a winner of the National Speaking Competition, so I am very grateful to be here again speaking to all of you. I want to remark this year's prompt, which is, we know what we are, but not what we may be, because I really think that it's representative of what the public speaking competition stands for. I've been participating in this competition since I was 12, which was almost like 6 years ago, so I'm a very big fan of this whole event. And every single year I've learned new things about myself and about the world in participating in this competition. So last year I was sent to London for a week to take horas lessons from expert coaches, including comedians and radio broadcasters, and I had the opportunity to meet individuals from over 36 countries around the world who are amazing public speakers as well. It was truly one of the best weeks of my life, and one of you today will have the amazing experience and possibility of going there, thanks to the Anglo-Mexican Foundation. So I really think that you should make the most out of it, because last year what I learned wasn't just about public speaking, but about all of these other individuals that I had the opportunity to meet. I think that it is incredible to be able to talk from other people from all over the world, because it really teaches you a lot about your culture and about other people. For instance, I learned that it's just a Mexican thing to say yes with your little finger like this. But more than that, I learned that conflicts from the other side of the globe are things that truly affect other people and affect the people that I love, not just news headlines or things that you read online. Overall, I think that this competition was really something that transformed me and my worldview. And I know that this will be something that happens to every single one of you today, because the vast majority of the things I learned didn't happen in London. They happened on this very stage. I urge you to really listen to the competitors that are here today, to listen to their speeches and listen to what they have to say to you, because their perspectives are inherently valuable, because they are so creative and so unique, and I know most of them, I heard most of them speak, so I'll just tell you that you're really in for a treat today. Most of all, the prompt today talks about the fact that we know who we are. I think that when we look around the world today, we can be very overwhelmed by the state of things. All of the armed conflicts, all of the human rights violations, neglects from the government. And it can be very, very overwhelming to think that we are powerless in these types of situations. However, in order to enact change, I think that we need to have a clear vision of what we want the world to look like. And there's no better place to get that vision than from the competitors standing right there in front of you today. I truly believe that young minds and giving them the opportunity to share their ideas is essential for the future. Because once we know what we may be, by imagining this, it is the only way that we can enact change and truly have a better place in the world. So thank you so much to the Anglo Foundation for making this possible year after year, and I wish you the best of luck to all of the competitors that are here today. Enjoy your speeches, enjoy the time you have here, and make the most out of this amazing opportunity that the Anglo has provided. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabel. To those of you joining us for the first time, here's how the competition works. Each participant prepared a 5-minute speech based on one of this year's official themes. In this case, we know what we are, but not what we may be. They spent weeks crafting it, shaping it, and today they'll present it live. To help them manage their time effectively, at minute 4, you will hear one clap, indicating that they have 1 minute remaining. At minute 5, you will hear 2 claps, signaling that their time is up. At 5 minutes and 15 seconds, if the speaker has not yet finished, you will hear continuous clapping, which means they must stop immediately. After each speech, our adjudicators will ask 2 questions to encourage deeper reflection. After their participation, they will be led by our staff to the Anglo Foundation Library to participate in our social impact surveys. Participants will be scored based on 4 main criteria: expression and delivery, reasoning and analysis, organization and prioritization, listening and response. This year, Category B speakers are competing for a chance to represent Mexico at the International Public Speaking Competition in London. So, good luck to all of you, and let's begin by welcoming our first speaker. Please welcome Natalia with her speech, Crooked Crane.
I can bet that if I ask any of you what this is, you'll answer in a heartbeat. A paper, a page, a blank slate. But this simple paper you see here would have meant so much more to 2 little girls. To them, paper is skin-like. It could be tainted, it could be ripped, it could be marked, it could be scarred. But they also see in this paper an opportunity. As with just 21 folds, they can create something beautiful, something that gives them hope. They can create a paper crane. Now, this is where we meet our first girl. 1945, Hiroshima, Japan. This is where we meet Sadako. And Sadako was just 2 years old this year as she stood there, and her skin was permanently tainted by the acid rain that permeated it, by the rain that fell on her because of wars that she was not meant to be fighting. She was just 2 years old. And as she stood there receiving the effects of wars, against religions, against mankind, her skin was just permanently marked. Something she would never be able to get away from. And just 8 years later, when she was 10, she received the terrible news, Sadako, you have skin cancer. We're sorry, the atomic bomb caused irreversible damage, and you're probably gonna die because of that. And as Sadako stood there, and the news sunk in, and she looked at herself in the mirror, she realized that that is what she was. Just a sick girl, just a tainted crane. Now, this is where we meet our second girl. 2012, Mexico City, Mexico. This is where we meet Natalia. And Natalia was also just a very little girl. This year she was 6 years old as she stood. She stood amongst other girls, just her age, all in their white, perfect matching leotards, looking hopefully and dreaming of what would be one of their very first ballet classes ever. And as they stood there, the teacher walked in, and she just stepped in front of her, and she just eyed her up and down. And she sighed and she said, Natalia, you're not meant to be a ballet dancer. Let's be honest. Ballet dancers are supposed to be tall, thin, like swans, like perfect cranes. You're just none of that. You're more like a crooked crane. And as Natalia let that news sink in and let those words seep into her paper-like skin, she realized, just like Sadako did, that is what she was. Just a tainted, crooked crane. And as they wished to peel back the layers of their skin that was marked, that was tainted, to unfold the crooked folds and refold them into something perfect, they realized that they had been completely blinded. This is where they met the art of making paper cranes. For they were given a promise. They were told, if you can fold 21 folds 1,000 times, if you can make 1,000 paper cranes, you'll be able to get a single wish. You can wish for anything. And as the girls started to fold and fold, their minds eased and their troubles slowly started to drift away, and the lines between them and their creations slowly started to blur. And yet, unfortunately, this is where the stories of our girls diverge. As Sadako folded and folded and folded, she managed to make 1,300 paper cranes. 1,300. That is 300 more than the one she needed to get her wish. That's amazing, you'd say. And yet, just a couple years later, she unfortunately passed away. And this might leave you thinking, well, what happened to her wish? Was it all for nothing? I mean, she didn't get her health back. She died. What happened? But the thing is, Sadako wasn't dreaming of untainting her tainted skin, of being a different person. No. She realized that what she really was beyond all of that. And looking at herself and just being blinded by that thing that was put in front of her was keeping her from realizing her full potential. And what she dreamt of, really, was of world peace. And while the world didn't stop and start spinning the other way around after her death, one thing did change. And that is that because of her, Natalia also found the art of paper cranes. And as she also found peace with herself, I fold not to make myself a different person, not to be different, not to wish to change myself. I've also come to terms with that. I fold for the wish that these simple paper cranes may someday become a symbol to others, to realize that they're beyond what tainted their skin, that they are also truly inside a beautiful crane. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Natalia. Now we will listen for a couple of questions of our adjudicators. Let's go first.
Natalia, that was a very good presentation. Thank you very much. Tell me about cranes.
Of course. Yes, thank you for your question. I think cranes are very interesting, and they have a lot of symbolism to different people for different reasons and different cultures. In the culture of Japan, they have a lot of meaning about hope, about I have a friend of mine who's Japanese, and he told me, since he always saw me making paper cranes, he's like, I love that you always make paper cranes because they mean so much to me. Because in my culture, we make them for people when they're sick. When people are sick, he says, we just make paper cranes and we stack them on each other and we put them in their hospital rooms or in their bedrooms to, in a way, light up their days, but also for this same wish and hope of them getting better. But I think that they're so much more than just that. They kind of transcend these cultural and national lines. They can also become something different to every single person. I think to me the biggest importance of paper cranes is how it's helped me deal with my problems and anxieties. I'm a very anxious person, so I always need to be doing something with my hands. And I feel like, after I found the art of making paper cranes, I feel like it's a great way to channel my anxieties and my stress. And it's also a way to make it so that it brings a little bit of joy into people's lives. So instead of just scribbling on a paper and just being anxious and shaking my hands or jumping up with my knees, I make little paper cranes and I kind of leave them around, and I see how they just brighten everyone's day when they see it, and they're just like, oh, that's so nice, that's so beautiful. So I do think, there's a very important cultural meaning of paper cranes, but I think it's also a lot of meaning that you can make in it yourself. So I think that's what's most beautiful about them.
Thank you. One more question, please.
Thank you, Natalia. You told us two stories about two little girls who were born into different cultures and were somehow impacted by their context and how they changed, right? Do you think this is something that anyone can do, overcome all these problems, regardless of the context you are born into? And how?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the fact that there are two girls that are similar in some ways, but so extremely different in their context and their situation and their time when they were alive, I think the fact that it kind of shows this, that it's not about it's not only about overcoming the situation you were put with in front of, they're two very different situations. And for example, in Sadako's case, she wasn't able to fully overcome the situation. She was she still inevitably died because of that. And it's kind of this, there's not always going to be something that you can do to change the situation that you're confronted with. And everyone is always going to be confronted with these situations. Everyone's skin is always going to be tainted by something or another. But I think the meaning and what you can do about it is not about just trying to change this. You can try to change the overall context, but I think the most important part is realizing that you're beyond that. Who you are and your identity is more than just what people have told you or what you see in the mirror or what you know is going to happen to you. But it's more about the possibilities you have to create something better. Even if that is like giving people a little bit more hope or dreaming of a better world, or just in general that you're not just what you've been put up to. You're not just a sick girl or someone that's had to deal with these societal standards or all of that, but it's more about how you can deal with it inside and realize that your identity lies way beyond that.
Thank you.
Now, continue with our next speaker. Here is Perla with Life, the Greatest Masterpiece.
Silence. Imagine a time before anything existed. No sound, no motion, just silence. Today, I'm here to remind you of a well-known truth. We're all made of energy. Sound, vibrations, motion, energy. If we're all of this, does this mean we're music? And if we are, can the music around and within us be composed by us? Can we take those vibrations in our lives to create something extraordinary? I strongly believe that the answer is yes. And by the end of my speech, I hope you will too. Now let me ask you a question. Who is pulling the strings in your life? It's hard to answer, right? Well, that someone could be you, believe it or not. Why? Let me break it down for you. First, energy. According to the Britannica Dictionary, energy is the ability of something to be active or do work. Simple terms, motion. And motion takes many forms. For example, vibrations. The Collins Dictionary defines a vibration as a periodic motion, such as the one in the regular displacement of air in the propagation of sound. You see how it's all connected? Energy is described as motion. A kind of motion is a vibration, and vibrations produce sound. But what does all that have to do with music and with us? Far more than you might think. To understand this connection, we first need to define music. Many have worked to explain it scientifically. I found inspirations in the works from science writer Thomas Levinson and Professor Brian Suits. It all starts with a sound wave. Take a guitar, a string tied on both ends. Plug the string and what happens? Exactly, you hear a sound. Amplitude and frequency determine the pitch. The way the string moves also creates additional sounds called harmonics. When people discovered this, they began experimenting. They took a string and compared it to another that was half its size. When they plucked on both, they discovered something fascinating. It sounded good, and so they wondered, what if we arranged many of these sounds, different timings and orders to create something even better? And that's music. You see how it's all connected? Energy, motion, vibration, sound, music. Us. Or don't you feel it? Don't you feel the energy that wakes you up each morning? Vocal cords, whose vibrations give you the freedom of speaking your mind. The sound of your pounding heart that won't stop beating until your last breath. You're all of that.
You are part of the cosmos energy. The universe gave you the necessary tools for you to exploit your full potential. Just as the chaotic sounds that turn into masterpieces, you can also transform your life to achieve anything that you can set your mind to. Can you hear it? Can you hear the beautiful melody you all are? Of course, it may not always feel that simple. Sometimes this melody feels disrupted, like a tangled mess of chords that make nothing but noise. But here, today, it's the truth. You, each of you, hold that energy. You are the one who can take those discordant notes and arrange them into a scale, just as any musician does, with the infinite possibilities of sound and the vibrant chaos of a string. You can also create your own perfect harmony. It's just a matter of perception. Yes, you are the one pulling the strings in your life, and only you can decide which kind of masterpiece you want to become. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Perla. Now, questions from our adjudicators. Maya, please.
Thank you, Perla, for your fascinating and passionate speech. I have a question for you. What facts, circumstances, or situations do you think that may prevent people from reaching their true potential and being in control of their lives and pulling the strings, as you just stated?
Thank you. That's a very good question. So, to everyone here today, I want to answer this. We all own different abilities. We all have different bodies, different ways of thinking, of feeling things, of perceiving our world around us. So, where does this energy that we all own gets lost? It's all about how you use everything that's within you to become better. It's all about the mindset. If you keep thinking, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, then hey, you won't. But if you're positive and you're conscious and aware of everything that you're capable of, then you will achieve it. Let me give you an example. There is a musician called Tony Melendez. He doesn't own any arms, and he's a guitarist. And he fills the stadiums full of people admiring him, hearing their music. He connects people. For you, you have a full body. And even if you don't, he achieved that. For him, your own existence is a miracle. So it's all about how you think about yourself and how do you feel confident or not about what you can do. There's nothing impossible as long as you believe it. Thank you.
Thank you, Perla.
Hello, Perla. Thank you for your contribution. I have a question for you. Do you think there's a moment in life where this potential is reduced, like your personality is fixed and you have like nothing else to achieve?
Okay, that's something pretty interesting to talk about. Thank you. Because for instance, we may think as kids that, oh, I'm gonna grow up, I'm gonna turn into adult, and everything is going to be solved. But surprise, it isn't like that. When we grow up, we learn new things about ourselves and about the world. And it sometimes can be overwhelming to feel like there's nothing more that you can do. But as long as you're positive and mindful of what you are capable of, then you will always find a way to keep on growing, to keep on learning, to keep on getting better. And each day is
an opportunity for each and every of you to become the best and the better version of yourself.
Thank you. Up next, we have Valentina presenting Roots and Wings. Welcome back.
My dad always says, primero te tenemos que mostrar tus raíces y luego tenemos que darte alas. We first have to show you your roots and then help you grow your wings. It doesn't matter that we don't know what we may be, because we know who we are. Once upon a time, in a faraway place, an orphaned girl lived with her evil stepmother and stepsisters, locked away as a servant in her own home. One day, she met a fairy godmother who helped her escape to the prince's ball, where she fell in love, got married, and became princess. Once upon a time, in a faraway place, a baby princess was cursed by an evil witch who cursed her to prick her finger on a spindle and make her and her kingdom sleep for 100 years. So she was sent away to the forest with the king's fairies, but even so, she pricked her finger and had to wait for the kiss of true love to wake her up. And when it did, she fell in love and became queen. Once upon a time, in a faraway place, a baby girl named Valentina was born to a beautiful couple. The couple is Colombian, but they live in Mexico, and all of their family is spread out throughout the entire world. They work hard to achieve their personal dreams and give their daughter the best life that they can. They raise her Catholic, and as she grows up, begin instilling values of drive, ambition, love, and kindness in her heart, values that will become pillars in her life for as long as she lives. These pillars are the centers in her universe, and they are cemented by her parents, the way they've raised her, and her culture, where she is surrounded by kind, ambitious, and driven people who expect the same of her. Her parents, her culture, and these pillars make sure she knows where she comes from, who she is, and where she stands. These are her roots. Like a tree's, these roots give her structure, a known safe place, and a guide that will translate to her entire life every year to come. They are the support from which she grows into branches and leaves. This is my story, but it is also the story that all of humanity shares. This is our story. In the stories that I briefly called upon earlier, we could extrapolate a core lesson from each. In Cinderella, we learned that kindness is important and it is key to never let bad things ruin a good heart. In Sleeping Beauty, we learned that true love can conquer all. In my own story, I've learned many things and there are more lessons to come. And all of these lessons are the reactions between our personal truths, our roots, and our wings. Roots tie us to someone, something, someplace, at some time, and these ties create a foundation for our identity. Wings are the space and trust given to us by our parents so we grow by learning on our own, acting on our own, and exploring on our own with the knowledge that we will behave in accordance with the roots we carry everywhere since birth. This is our story. The wings we create are formed feather by feather, instance by instance, with the care of those who love us, where we grow by acting as our own people. Like birds, we leave the nest, and all our parents, guardians, protectors can do is trust that with the foundation they've given, we will soar. And so, if we know our roots and where they come from, and if we know what makes up our wings, can we know where these wings will lead us? Well, no, but that doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter that we don't know what we may be because we know who we are. In each of these stories, the heroes didn't know what they may be. Cinderella didn't know she would end up princess. Sleeping Beauty didn't know she would get saved and then pricked. I still don't know what I will end up being, and as I look into this audience today, I can bet that most of you didn't know you would be wherever you are in your life right now. But as long as we know who we are, that mystery doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter that we don't know what we may be because we know who we are. Whether for good or bad, the only limitations we have are those we impose upon ourselves. There comes a moment in life, a switch where you get a choice. Whether that be in your surroundings, your friends, your loved ones, the things you do and create, the lessons you learn to leave and the lessons you learn to keep and leave behind. And our limitless nature that is hinged on our wings breeds uncertainty. We don't know what lessons we will learn, but we can be certain that we will be supported by the roots that shape us and tie us, and we will grow with the wings that we create. We can choose to cower from the fact that we don't know what we may be, even though we can be certain of who we are and fear the unknown. We can choose to absolve ourselves from the responsibility of living by rejecting the certainty of uncertainty. Or we can choose to stand firm on the roots that shape us and embrace the fact that even though we don't know what we may be, we know who we are. Sure of this, I know I can tell my dad that I walk through life supported by the roots he and my mom have shown me, and every day I grow my wings more. Thank you.
Thank you, Valentina.
Well,
Oh.
still have one question.
I just want to remind something to the speakers. Raise your volume, guys. Okay? It's part of your evaluation as well. Thank you. Sorry, Mr. Palmer.
Valentina, that was wonderful. Thank you.
Which is more important to use your wings for? Is it important to fly higher, or is it important to fly further away?
I think it's definitely more important to fly higher, because if you're flying further away, you're kind of forgetting your roots. And your roots are what helps you get to where you are. So why would you want to forget the things that helped you get to where you are? I would rather fly higher and elevate those roots to a place where I will be at.
Second question? Rosalia.
Thank you. Yes, Valentina. Thank you. Very inspiring. What happens to your roots if you start flying way too high?
That is also, of course, something to consider. But I think that as long as we know in our hearts who we are, where we come from, and where we stand, we will never truly forget our roots. And I don't think that having roots is to copy what our parents did or what our ancestors did. Rather, is to have a foundation that will help us create our own identity and our own place in life. And they will always remain in your hearts wherever you are.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, let's hear from Sophia. She's sharing the topic, the light within the shadows.
What do you want to be when you grow up? A question we've all been asked before. A question to which we answer. A teacher, an astronaut, a singer, a chef. The options are unlimited. But what happens to the girls around the world who can even consider this question? Because their fates are sealed. According to UNESCO, 130 million girls are denied an education. 130 million girls who cannot dream of their future. 130 million girls who are 2 times more likely to marry before the age of 18, who have to care for a family before they have the chance to enter primary school, who end up working in dire conditions, facing the world with nothing more than what they be taught at home, if anything at all. Today, I'll show you how much talent and potential the world loses every day by denying girls their rights and education, and how we all can play a part in solving this issue. War, climate change, conflict, world hunger. The places most affected by this crisis are the same that prohibit and deny women the right to education. Let's talk about Afghanistan. Rainfall has decreased by 40%, and the World Food Program names drought as a major threat to the country's food security, which relies heavily on agriculture. An optimistic climate outlook for Afghanistan would still mean an increase of 1.4 degrees Celsius by 2050. And what would we expect in the face of such challenges? A nation working collectively to solve this issue, but no. Instead, nearly 50% of the population cannot dream of achieving higher education than primary school. Not because of missing resources alone, but because for girls, education is prohibited. They cannot speak in public, show more than their ankles in the streets, or leave their homes without a male companion. Just to name a few. These are not just violations of women's rights. These are violations of human rights. There's a phrase I love, one of my favorite songs. Translated, it says, In the shadows, geniuses they unaware of their magic, granted without asking long before they were born. Duncan Dun. With everything happening in the world, how can we afford to lose the creativity, talent, and ingenuity of half of humanity? How can we not put all of our joint efforts into fixing the world's problems, but instead waste so much potential by preventing girls and young women from reaching the full capacities? Time after time, I couldn't contain the sadness and happiness that overwhelmed me reading the stories of girls my age who had their wings cut long before they could fly. But yet, that's the world we live in. And although there are girls who don't believe in tomorrow, there's also girls like me and like the ones here today who were lucky enough to be born with privilege. And although we do not choose this privilege for ourselves, we do choose what we do with it. Every day we don't act is a day where the world becomes a dimmer place. We cannot afford to let those girls be abandoned, be forgotten, be unheard. Responsibility doesn't mean solving everything overnight, but it does mean asking ourselves, what can we do? And the answer starts by recognizing that even the smallest actions can ripple into a wave of change. First, educate yourself and share your knowledge. The more people understand the depth of these issues, the harder it becomes to ignore them. Second, support organizations, donate, volunteer, or simply spread awareness and recognize their work. Finally, create change in our community. Mentor young girls, support gender equality policies, or encourage discussions at home or at school to spread awareness of these topics. Although this may not sound like a big deal, with time and effort, it can create a movement and a significant change. The world desperately needs the voices of girls who are being silenced. Every girl, no matter where she's born, deserves the right to dream, to thrive, to contribute, and to believe in a better tomorrow. We cannot continue failing the 130 million girls who right now have given up on their future. We have the power to act, and with that power comes the responsibility to do so. So today I ask you, let's be the light for those living in the shadows. Let's amplify their voices, carry their stories, and create a world where every girl, no matter where she's born, has the chance to dream and become who she was always meant to be.
Thank you very much, Sophia. Questions? Carlos, please.
Thank you, Sophia, and thank you for addressing such an important issue nowadays. You already mentioned how we individually can perform some actions to contribute to a solution. How much of this is a responsibility from the government, and what can we do to convince them that this is important? Maybe not in Mexico, but like around the globe.
Thank you so much for your question. Well, this is a very important situation, but it's also a very complex one. There's a lot of factors involved, not only the government, cultural, social, and economic factors, because a lot of the barriers that are stopping girls from attending school is poverty, cultural factors, or maybe things that have to do more with the society they are surrounded with. As a government, I think the solution or the way they had to approach this situation is to give these girls, these young women, the facilities so they can push through and succeed later on. For example, in Afghanistan, although they may want to attend school, it's prohibited. The government prohibits the education for girls and young women. So although they would want to attend, well, they wouldn't have the chance. I think the role here for the government is to facilitate this approach to education and to encourage young women and girls to believe in themselves, to give them their opportunity to succeed, because they have the potential to do so, but they're not given the chances all the time.
Thank you, Sophia. I agree with Carlos. It's a very important topic nowadays. And now with AI and technology, what do you think this is going to be in the future? Is it going to be something that's going to improve these situations of these
it's a really interesting point of view. Nowadays, we already have AI, we already have laptops, we have internet, we have Zoom meetings, we have Zoom classes. We have access to education and to information around the world just with a touch of our hands. Nowadays, there's already solutions that have been implemented. For example, a young activist in Afghanistan, Areso Rahimi, had to flee Afghanistan because of the situation there, because of the Taliban, to continue her studies and later on become a journalist. But nowadays, she works with an organization called Darisho School that gives young women and girls education in Afghanistan online. They give classes online and in secret places in Afghanistan just to not get found by the Taliban and to be prohibited. But nowadays we already have moments and solutions where this is happening. I think in the future, AI, internet, and all the access we can have to information would only improve the situation for girls and young women around the world so they can have access to everything to become who they always were meant to be.
Joining us now, Emiliano delivers I Am But a Child.
For the 17 years I've lived, I couldn't wait to be an adult. Ever since I was about this tall, 7 years old, I couldn't wait to see the full freedoms of what life had to offer. Ever since my main joys in life were reading Harry Potter in the library or playing tag in recess, I've thought about what life would be like after graduation. Now, I was starting to grasp the tip of the crown that is adulthood. My first time sitting at the adult table in a family reunion, my first pimple, my first awkward look in a mirror, my first party, my first long-term relationship, my first time driving my own car, these all have passed. And now I'm at the cusp of the next big stage in life. I've worked day in and day out to push myself to new heights and feel like I face the stress of a 40-year-old Wall Street banker. In a few months, I'll be able to vote. And I'll go on and study abroad and live on my own and make my own laundry and do my sleep schedule and yet I remain a child. I'm an adult, and yet I'm but a child. I'm an adult, and yet I still play with cutlery when I go on dates, seeing if I can balance a fork and a spoon to stand upright on their own. I'm an adult, yet I still often break into sing-song and dance in public. I'm an adult, yet I still carry the same zest that we're so used to hearing get sucked out of all of us by the time we're 20. I am an adult, yet I am but a child. What am I? We as humans have a tendency to classify ourselves into groups. Let me introduce you to something that can give us a notion of why that is, and in the process, tackle the dichotomy I now face. Label theory, proposed by Howard S. Becker in 1963, states that our identity and beliefs are dictated by how we are described and classified. This works in a vicious cycle. First, certain actions are labeled as deviant. You either paint your hair blue, don't use deodorant, or steal a piece of gum. It's all the same. Then, whoever does these actions becomes labeled as an outsider, and any future actions they do become perceived through this label. No matter what you do, you remain a leftist, unhygienic, or a criminal. This, in turn, leads to these outsiders to internalize these labels and act accordingly to them. These labels go from predicting their future to determining their future. These become self-fulfilling prophecies where the minorities or the outsiders are perpetually isolated. This, I've talked about relatively innocuous examples so far, but replace too smelly with a certain race, gender, or sexuality, and suddenly we're face to face with a core problem of how society works. 22% of African Americans are given longer sentences than white people for committing the same crimes in the US, with Native Americans and Hispanics not trailing far behind. For every dollar a man makes, a woman makes approximately 82 cents around the globe. More than 570 bills against against the LGBTQ rights groups have been tracked by activists in the last 3 years. These labels have become so embedded in society that they continually oppress minorities. But I'm not here to talk about that today. As much as label theory is used in criminology and societal analysis, and I implore you to explore it more, I'm here today to talk about how it applies to the individual. Because it's the case that what you call yourself is who you are. Call yourself a child and you will continue to innocently crawl through the meadows. call yourself an adult and you'll become this wise, responsible taxpayer. And while these labels can be positive, the human mind has a way of taking these labels and boxing you in to limitations. And so I propose this. I'm not a child. I'm not an adult. I am not anything. I am myself. And so are you. Stop labeling yourself. Stop calling yourself a child, grown up, and mature. Stop saying that that inner child that's supposedly dormant and not there is just as much there as when you used to play with dolls or Transformers 30 years ago. Take the best of both worlds. Take the responsibility, the wisdom, the independence of adulthood, while also taking the joy, the whimsy, and the curiosity of childhood. Let your adult self control challenges maturely while you dream, you laugh, you play. Take these sides not as opposites, but as complements. Take these sides and live a life of both seriousness and silliness, structure and spontaneity, and passion and purpose. I am an adult, yet I am but a child. What am I? With how long it took me to answer this question, it reminds me of those riddle books I used to play with my family when I was younger. But now I know the answer. I am not a child, I am not an adult, I am only myself. And that is what gives me the willpower to wake up every day and determine who I will be. Thank you.
Emiliano now will continue with a couple of questions.
Thank you, Emiliano, for your interesting speech. How dangerous do you consider that labeling a person can be?
So dangerous. It's dangerous for you to label yourself, for you to label others, and for others to label other people. When you label yourself, as I previously said, you box yourself into certain stereotypes. I've had this notion of calling myself a nerd, and I'm proud of it. I am a nerd. I love learning, I love math, I love science. But at the same time, it boxes you into this mentality that comes with the connotations of being a nerd. Yes, you can turn these labels into positive meanings like I've done with nerd. I used to think a nerd was someone that didn't shower or was, nerdy. But now I've come to enjoy being a nerd. But at the same time, why is there a need to label yourself? Why can't you just embrace the full possibility of what you are? And in terms of you labeling others, there are studies that show that because we label such genders, races, or sexualities in certain ways, that they get treated worse systematically, that they're more likely to be perceived as criminals. When a black person is loitering, they're considered to be doing something bad. When a white person is loitering, statistically, they're considered to be just hanging around. It's different for everyone, and that's the danger of labels. Of course, these labels can be positive. I do not mean to say that they can't, but in general, they do way more harm than they do good.
Thank you, Emiliano.
Second question.
Well, there are two things that in languages that they all have. It's verbs and nouns. And nouns are categories, are labels. It's something innate to humans to categorize things. If that is something that you say, well, let's do something else, what is that something else that we can do to avoid labeling people?
Great point. Well, I think we should stop looking at people and saying, oh, she's a girl, she'll do this. Oh, he's a man, he'll do this. Stop thinking of people through labels. Yes, I mean, it's okay to use the labels. It's okay to say, yes, I'm a man. Yes, I'm 17. Yes, I'm a teenager. It's okay. It's not that we shouldn't use these anymore. But what we should not do is use these to infer things about these people. Because that's where the real harm of label comes from. When you strip down people just to their qualities, when they're really so much more, That's what I suggest. Thank you, everyone. Great questions.
Thank you, Emiliano. Now, please welcome Martha with her thought-provoking speech. With her speech, when will you finally start living?
We're all humans. Just simply,
That is not a secret. It's still March, but let me ask you all this question. Who here is looking forward for summer vacation to finally take a break from their exhausting job? I'm sure most of you are, because everybody loves summer. I mean, I do love summer. Just be careful in how many hours you spend counting the time for the perfect moment to arrive. Because did you know that on average, you only got to experience 75? Exactly. According to INEGI, that's life expectancy only in Mexico. We're extremely fleeting. They say, choose a job you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life. Confucius. Sounds simple, right? So why is not everybody doing it? I mean, it's so easy. Well, let me tell you something. I'm currently a high school student, 11th grade, and I'm starting to hear the question, what do you want to do for your entire life? Wow. Because if you say something which you're truly passionate about and you will kill to do every single day of your life, you may receive comments like, oh, but it doesn't pay that much, or try to be realistic, choose a career. You're not going to make it. But if you say something which society thinks is acceptable, you will receive a bunch of congratulations instead. But what happens if that doesn't truly fill your heart? Will you spend your entire life waiting for summer to finally start living? It's ridiculous. Well, for me, that's the main problem with our society. Not to confine ourselves in a single label. A doctor, a lawyer, an architect, a teacher, a student, a mother. But the real question is not what you are, it's who you are. Just think about it. Deep down we all know it. We're the sum of our qualities. But yet, we don't go around the world saying it. Instead, we introduce us as our name. For example, nice to meet you. My name is Martha. But the truth is, life's too short to let a name define you, or to let people who don't even know you decide your future or destiny. They call it the butterfly effect. Every single decision we make leads into a world of possibilities that we have never imagined. So just picture for a second letting this huge responsibility to other people. This concept was born in 1963, named by Edward Lawrence. Will you let the society shape the person that you will eventually become? I don't think so. And let me give you a short story. I have been competing internationally into beauty pageants ever since I was 13 years old, and I was really good at it. And lots of people just know me as that, the pageant girl, which is not bad. I really like that side of me. But in reality, those people don't even know me. They don't know that I have a huge passion for writing. They don't know that for me words are a window through my heart. They don't even know that I will do anything to become a successful writer and speaker. They just see the pageant girl. And that is what is happening to the society. People think that because they know you, they have the authority to tell you what should you do with your entire life. But listen, and this is a fact, the only person that you're going to spend your entire life with, it's yourself, and that's it. So you must be doing something that you truly love. The reason why I'm so percent is because only 6% of people, according to the University of Madrid, are studying or doing something that they wanted as children. We must teach the youngest generation just to make mistakes and learn from them, because at the end of the day, that's what we are. We're only humans. Just please, do not waste a single day of your life waiting for summer. Do what you love today. Live your life as if it's your last day, because eventually, when you grow older and you're dying, what do you want to think? Did I spend my entire life doing something I hate? What did I just do with my life? I wish I could go back in time. Or I was the best version of myself, and I do not regret a single thing, because I was doing something that I truly love. So I'm asking you, when will you finally start living? The decision is still in your hands. But let me tell you something. It's never too late to follow your heart. Just keep on going with that dream that you have in mind right now, because maybe one day that could be your reality. I believe in myself, and that's why I'm standing here today, fulfilling my own dream. Just do not be scared of being different, because we know what we are. So why follow the society if we don't even know what we may become? Thank you so much.
we are teenagers, we are not really sure what we are into, what we want to be. What would be your advice for the teenagers that you know or that might be here with us today? How to find what you want to become and not to be working for the rest of your life in something that you don't love?
Thank you so much. That's such a great question. Well, as I said, the only person that you're going to spend your entire life with is yourself, and that's it. What this means is that no one will ever know your soul better than you. You're just your person. So you must be thinking in who you are really. You can spend a lifetime speaking, and as a writer, I can definitely tell you, you can spend a lifetime writing your own emotions and thoughts. But eventually, no matter how great you are, no matter how careful you are with the words, they will always fall down because vocabulary is limited, but human experiences are infinite. What I'm trying to say is that it doesn't matter what you have been through in the past. It doesn't matter what they will say, because there will be a moment that you will realize that everything was worth it, because you have been working so hard to be here. Let me give you an example. When I first got to this final, I just ran into my math teacher and I told her. She got extremely excited and she told me, you know what, Marta, I believe in you. Because even though I know math is not your favorite subject, I know you have a true passion for words. And she was right. Ever since I was a little girl, I always believed that words are a window through my heart. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marta.
Next question by
Hello, Marta.
Hello.
I appreciate your optimism. I was just wondering, sometimes when you are already in a situation that makes you feel like this, like you're trapped or you don't know where to go, this optimism can turn into frustration because the results are not immediate. What can I do to actually feel like I am going towards a goal without just focusing on the final part of it and enjoying the process?
Thank you so much. Yeah. Listen, we don't read and write poetry because we think it's cute. We read and write poetry because we're members of the human race. And the human race, it's filled with passion. And medicine, law, business, engineer, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, this is why we stay alive for. This quote is from this great movie called The Dead Poets Society. I really recommend it to you all, but I think it answers perfectly your question. Because if you're thinking, okay, what should I do with my entire life? You will realize that there's not a correct answer. We all have different paths. Someone may graduate at 21, but got his dream job at 26. Someone may graduate at 26 and got his dream job immediately. Or someone may just work his whole life in a low payment job, but then became a CEO at 50 years old. We'll have different paths, so we do not have to choose the majority. We just must follow the right way, because we all have different lives, different backgrounds. We all here have struggles, and it's totally okay, but you will decide if the pain just destroys you or builds you up. And let me tell you something, if you have that dream in your heart and you have passion for it, there's not a little chance that you will not eventually achieve it. And if you ask me personally, I believe I have all the abilities to represent Mexico with a lot of intelligence, determination, but most important of all, with passion. Thank you so much.
Next on our list, Javiera, presenting What We Can Become.
As a woman in a world built for men, I'm often told what I am, or at least what I ought to be. But in the eyes of the patriarchy, that's all the same. I ought to be quiet, meek, a good wife and daughter, a mother one day. I am too dramatic. I complain too much. I overreact. I am, in the eyes of the
macho man, a nuisance and an inconvenience. But with the correct system, I may be safe. With true conservative policies and traditional family values, which is a real funny thing to come out of the mouths of men who cheat on their wives like their middle school algebra test, I can become the person they see me fit to be. The political pendulum across the globe is swinging towards these ideologies, and we must simply not let that happen. Why? Well, it's quite clear what we may one day become. I was watching The Handmaid's Tale recently. It's a series based on a book about a dystopian country called Gilead, previously America, where extremist religious beliefs have taken over and now conform the principles of a new authoritarian government. This is a government that does not allow women to read, or write, or speak out of turn. They can't hold jobs, love who they want, or often even raise their own children. Handmaids, the women the book is centered around, are forced into homes where they are raped every month in the hopes of their becoming pregnant and carrying a child, just so their rapist and his wife can take the baby from them as soon as it is born. I am an avid TV and film enthusiast, and I find it safe to say that never has any piece of media made me so upset. I continuously wreathed in anger at the idea of a world in which women were treated in this way. Yet at least they aren't. That's what I would tell myself. We don't live in a world where such things can happen. And still, they do. They are. Every day we come closer to becoming Gilead. We take one step forward and 3 steps back. There are countries on this earth where women cannot read, write, or speak. Women's children are taken from them and sold. As of 2021, 129 million girls were out of school. Women in Afghanistan are literally starving to death because they can't go to the grocery store without a man. They are also dying of colds and flus because they can't be treated by male doctors, but women are not allowed to practice as or become a doctor. Rape is systematically used as a weapon of war in over 20 active conflicts. Women are kidnapped, entrapped, and enslaved. They go through everything that handmaids do, and worse. But we continue to accept this. A television show makes us want to burn the world to the ground, but we can look past the real stories of real people who suffer around us, who suffer at our expense. We continue to accept the reality spoon-fed to us by those in power because we feel that the system is in place. We feel like this is normal, and hey, at least today, it wasn't me. We know what we are, not what we may be. Yet by realizing what we may be, we move forward. It's what we have done historically. When we couldn't vote, we realized we could. We could make a difference in the polls. We could ask for policies that we wanted, that benefited us. So, our ancestors took to the street and made it happen. When we couldn't own our own homes or have our own money, we realized we should. So, we protested. We voted for politicians that made that happen. The battles of the past continuing to carry us towards our goals in the future. And by realizing what we could be, we became. We can't stop the trend now. We can't be the generation that chooses to conform. We can't be the ones who say, good enough, because we know what we are, and that is limited. The world has to see us, and for that, we have to make ourselves seen. We have to make ourselves heard until every woman in Afghanistan has access to schooling, clothing, and freedom of speech. Until 9-year-old girls in Iraq aren't being married off to adult men legally. Until women in our own country aren't disappearing and dying at the hands of men. Men who continue to go unpunished. Until the billions of women who don't have access to the same economic opportunities as men have them. And yes, this is perhaps a fight with no end. There may be no light at the end of this tunnel, and if there is, it is unlikely that any woman in this room will live to see it. But our daughters might, or their daughters, and that should be enough. Our great-great-grandmothers did not live to see the first female leaders of the political world, the first female CEOs. They couldn't access divorce or wear the wrong clothes, but we can. Life is not solely about what we do for ourselves, but more so what we do for each other. What mark do we want to leave on this world? What legacy will we leave behind? To the little girls out there, I know you may be frustrated. I know you see the differences that people make when they see you. But I promise, many people out there know what you can become. And deep down, it's what you already are. It's just something that we need to fix the world into accepting. And I hope that one day, that fight becomes a priority for you as well. To help the next group of little girls, until we don't have to anymore. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Taylor. Now we listen for
much, Javiera. You taught very interesting and relevant points in today's world, but I want to make this personal. What would you say to a girl who doesn't like what she is now?
I think there's always going to be a level of discontent with who we are. None of us are perfect, and we've kind of been indoctrinated by the world to think that we can be, despite the fact that we know we can't. So I think the first step of everything at the end of the day is acceptance. To accept yourself, but if you really don't like who you are or where you are, to know what you can become. To realize where you can go with the resources that you have in your hand, and also to learn to ask for help. Because as many of our previous speakers have mentioned, we are in a position of a lot of privilege. We are literally standing on a stage and we are able to speak our minds where others can't. And it's our responsibility to little girls like that who don't like who they are, perhaps because of the limitations that the world has put on their shoulders, to fight for them and to allow for them to have a path that will make them at least achieve some form of self-love.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next question.
Javiera, what a wonderful point of view. What's the good news?
I think there's always good news, and we as people tend to focus on the bad news. I am to blame for that as well, and I think that the speech kind of showed that a little bit, because I think that's what we really have to fight for. But at the end of the day, I think we have seen a lot of progress. We have seen just recently female CEOs surpassing the number of male CEOs named John, for example. And while it seems like a ridiculous feat, because it seems ridiculous that there were more male CEOs named John than female CEOs as a whole, it's the little steps, and it's the little things, and it's looking past at our ancestors before us, and our grandmothers and great-grandmothers, and what they couldn't do, and how they fought for what we can do today, and to appreciate that, and to be grateful for the opportunities and the paths that they have opened up for us, for the fact that I can stand here today, that I can stand out on the street and give my opinion without being arrested, or without being, for example, in an oppressive regime, like the girls currently living in Afghanistan. And I think that as a world, we are continuously progressing into becoming more accepting of women, and to realize the potential and the help that we can bring to building a better society. Because when we look at the world and when we look at the countries and companies that are better off, they're often led by, or in part led by, a woman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Let's continue now with Sophia asking, is the future really female? Welcome.
As children, they always tell us if we work hard enough and fight for our dreams, we will always achieve our goals. That mentality is all over every kind of media. It's the type of thing that our parents and relatives tell us. But something that always gets above our heads is the fact that things in the real world are much different and difficult for women. Historically, we have come far in terms of women's rights and opportunities. Until 7 years ago, in Mexico, women couldn't vote. But now, we even have Mexico's first female president. They also now exist laws for the protection of women, like the law on women's access to life-free violence in the state of Jalisco, or the Olympia law. These guidelines can guarantee that the integrity of every woman in Mexico is respected and guaranteed. Even though we're peaking our rights, according to a survey made by the National Statistics and Geography Institute conducted in 2021, 70.1% of women 15 and over have experienced at least one incident of violence. I personally know more women who have suffered some type of sexual harassment than women that haven't. That statistic alone should be alarming, but we have become so desensitized to it. Violence against women has become so normalized that it often goes unnoticed, or worse, ignored. The risk of dying is one that has always existed, but in a society like ours, where an average 10 women are murdered per day, it is both impossible to ignore and a difficult reality to face. Which raises the question, how can you express an inherited fear that has been normalized in our society with every generation? How can you try to capture even a part of the suffering that comes with the damage done to all those women? It is truly unfair how when one of these horrible things happen, it is still blamed on the woman. How are they dressed? Where were they? What were they doing? When the reality is, it shouldn't have happened at all. To all these promising
women, girls with futures, expectations, dreams, and fears. Some of them will now never come true. An example of this is the story of Carolina Cuartas, who loved to write poems and letters, especially to her family and friends, but her true passion was singing. She used to dream of becoming a sound engineer and raising her 7-month-old son. Unfortunately, her life was cut short at only 20 years by her ex-partner. Another example of this is the story of Jessica Barón, who yearned to become a designer and used to make beautiful dresses for her niece's dolls. But her life was cut short at only 18 years old by her boyfriend. But these are not just names. These are not just statistics. These were real women whose stories deserve to be told. Because behind every tragic news headline, behind every news report, there was a life that was stolen, a voice that was silenced. I choose to talk about this topic, not only concerned for myself, but truly considerate of all my friends, my cousins, and the women who surround me. Because this world should always feel a secure place for them. Their voices should always be heard. I don't want them to live in a place that expresses a need for them to be weary of their surroundings, to be careful of their clothing choices, to be careful who they're with, just to keep themselves safe. And so, it sets up the story of Ana Sophia Gomez, who, since she was a child, loved to talk. She used to dream of getting to work somewhere where she could make a real change in the world. And at 16 years old, doesn't know what the future may be when she walks out the door into the street. I may not be hopeful in the future and what it holds, but I am truly confident that there's still people like myself that'll fight to make every voice that has been silenced heard. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Natalia. Now I listen to your questions. First question. Rosalia.
Thank you. Yes. Really very interesting examples and things you share with us. Thank you, Sophia. It's been said that traditionally in the workplace, when a woman fights for what she believes in, she's aggressive. Whereas if it's a man who does it, he's assertive. How do you feel about this?
I think that passion is one of the biggest things and our biggest characteristics as humans, and we shouldn't be labeling it as aggressiveness or as being assertive, but to be truly recognizing of that person, of that idea, and trying to push it, because that is what we should be doing as a society. That is what's wrong right now in our society, that we try to push some ideas but not others because of who they come from. They need to, we need as a society to be hopeful and to take that passion and exploit it, because that's how the world revolves and that's how you evolve as a society.
Thank you.
Second question, bye.
Microphone now. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Does the fact that 90% of the participants in this section of the competition are women help or hurt your argument?
I think it's a proud feeling that all of these women get to have a voice in this amazing competition. And it is truly a great accomplishment that right now all of us here as participants are trying to express our voice, trying to get what we think to the world, because that is, I think, what the competition is about, to express ourselves. And that is a genuinely proud feeling that I have towards all of you here, even though I don't know who is.
Thank you.
you so much, Ana Sophie. Thank you. And we will guide you. Now, please welcome Natalia with the topic Unfreezing Our Reality.
Well, I'd be having a midlife crisis at 16. Whether we like it or not, change has always been complacent to mold our lives and our mindsets. Our reality without time, plot twist, and character development would be a base weight, with no doubt. Humans are scared of change, but it's not just being scared of new things. It's a fear of the unknown. It's deeper because it comes from within a human instinct, because we're unsure of the outcome of a situation. Knowing prevents us from danger, so we always like to feel in control. However, as we all know, life is unpredictable, and we can't really know what's going to happen next. So to fill that void, we create a reality in our minds and establish what we define as true, immoral, and impossible. Humans have always tried to find explanations for our own existence, coming up with countless religions, science, and even establishing our very own perception. But what happens when that reality breaks and it is forced to alter itself? Sometimes it feels like we change by inertia. We're forced to grow and commit. Our brain, to settle its unpredictability, we fill it with likely outcomes of the situation that is ahead of us, because we all have to make pivotal decisions that will impact the rest of our lives. Danish philosopher Søren Kierkegaard explains anxiety as the dizzying effect of freedom, of paralyzing possibility, of the boundlessness of one's existence. He also explains that anxiety can be caused when there are limitations in this choice. For me, the time has come to commit to a career, a degree. I'm not sure of what I want to do, but in reality, you can say I have time. But rather, universities require intensive curriculum showcasing my knowledge in the topic of choice. For others without my privilege, like my grandma living in Colombia, who had to decide what to study in a technical school, from sewing to operating machinery. Although it wasn't her decision to leave school and begin working, this enabled her to jump into a constant paying job and support her family. But the pressure is on, because this is an impactful decision, and as mere children, it seems hard to be committing to such large things. This is quite overwhelming, but regardless of what position you are in, we all have to come face to face with our futures. Outside of our own personal struggles, the world also revolves around us. We see things outside of our own personal control. We humans live within societies, and together we have established our common ideology that has helped shape governing systems, rules, but also discriminate and limit other people. We constantly witness paradigm shifts, a major change in how people think and get things done that upends and replaces a power paradigm, challenging the status quo. Historically, women have been inferior to men, and are believed to be so. When people grow up with the idea that women belong in our households, and this idea is challenged because they seek their own conformity within the reality, and they seek the comfortableness of the life that they know. So when women come to power, this can create a large-scale opposition through conservative narratives that constantly deny minorities from getting healthcare, from achieving positions of power, from allow abuses from all over the world to happen. With the rise of Trump's MAGA, many trans identities have seen extreme discrimination. To push our own personal ideology, we push back on others' identities. The world around us shapes our own identities and who we are, but we must do something about it. How is it that these conservative narratives all of a sudden can gain and prevail power? They have really strong things, such tools such as nostalgia, that anchor people to the past, reshape history, and unite them, most importantly, in a stagnant, unified front that goes against everything. And so, this gives social movements an even harder time to push for progressiveness and to push for their change that they're so looking for. But we humans are dreamers. We cannot stunt ourselves in a reality that is so distant to the one that we want and imagine. We have never stopped changing. We have advancements that will revolutionize our medicine forever.
In our own personal lives, even if we're scared of making mistakes, we can always go back and change something. This life is never permanent. We can always take it as a learning experience. And social movements are a lesson on how we can use this to break from our own reality and search for a better goal. So let us unfreeze, open our minds to new possibilities, and face change as an experience, not a threat.
Thank you very much, Natalia. Now let's listen to your questions. Mayra.
Thank you very much, Natalia. How do we deal with uncertainty in decision making?
I think uncertainty in decision making is what makes it so difficult. Our brain, especially with the anxiety and with the unconformity of not knowing what's coming next, only makes us more anxious, and which doesn't allow us to think about what decision we're making. Sometimes I feel like our own brain chemistry makes it something a lot bigger than it is. If I choose the wrong career, if I take a wrong degree, I can always go to the result that I'm looking for. I can always move through my own path because we are not stagnant. And I think that remembering that and thinking that maybe our own brain chemistry is just making things a little bit deeper than they seem. I think we can all fight for the lives that we want, regardless of the mistakes that we've made, and regardless of what may happen next.
Thank you, Natalia.
Next question. Daniel Hernandez.
Thank you, Natalia. You mentioned pivotal decision. As a teenager, for example, choosing a career path. This is something that happens, I think, regardless of the nationality, age, etc. How can you, or what can you tell a teenager to cope with this issue?
As you say, I think this is an unavoidable change. We have to change by inertia. We can't pause time and say, no, I want to be a little kid forever. Like, I wish I didn't have to grow into my adult life. And I think that we all wish that at some point. But I think my main piece of advice is just to follow your heart right now. Because thinking that, oh, I might regret this in the future and being scared of what may happen next is only going to alter your decision. And instead of thinking, okay, what do I like right now? And where can I go from this? Rather than, what if I choose this and like I eventually regret it and that's going to be the end of the world? I think that going from what we know and having life as a path for me, even if at some point I might change my mind, I can use the degree I have right now and the degree that I may gain as a way to forge my path and even to learn about this. Learning that you don't like about something is just as valuable as getting it right the first time.
Thank you so much, Natalia. And our last speaker, Alexandra. She will be reflecting on loss or encasement, the dual path of humanity.
We know what we are. We are the product of 7 million years of evolution. We are Homo sapiens. We are the first and only species defined not by physical attributes, but by cognitive ones. By our unparalleled ability to think, to cooperate, to innovate. We are the first and only species driven by a deeply progressive nature, by a desire to defy instinct, to push past the physical and intellectual boundaries of our existence. We are the avant-garde. In 1996, we brought Dolly the sheep to life. She was not born, but created, and since then, our advancements have only accelerated. We sequenced the human genome. We calculated the maximum number of times our cells can divide. We modeled the neuron and recorded its electrical impulses. And today, we are driven to use this ever-growing knowledge to push beyond the boundary of our very biology, beyond the predictability of heredity, beyond the fragility of age, beyond the limited electrical activity of the brain. We no longer just decode genes, we edit them. We use CRISPR to cut and modify DNA, rewriting life before it has even begun.
We no longer just cure diseases, we alter the functioning of our cells. We develop drugs like rapamycin to slow cell division and reverse aging. We no longer just build machines, we integrate them into ourselves. We explore the possibility of a neural interface like Elon Musk's Neuralink, which connects our brains to the digital world. And as such, we stand at a crossroads, a moment in time where our developments in science and technology begin to tamper with what we are, and thus raise the question of what we may become. Imagine a future where genetic engineering eliminates disease, but also erases every imperfection, every deviation, which makes us unique. Are we still individuals, or are we optimized copies of one another? Imagine a world where aging is cured and life has no end without death. Will we still feel a sense of purpose and urgency to live robustly, to love, to contribute to a cause? Imagine our minds so enhanced by technology that we think not in words but in data. If we fuse our consciousness with technology, are we still Homo sapiens? But to stand at a crossroads is to have a choice between two paths. The first is a trail uninspiring and bland, or we may opt for a path more decidedly grand. Path 1, loss. We use genetic engineering not to cure, but to perfect to the point of homogeneity. We lose the unpredictable and flawed beauty of humanity. We extend our lifespans indefinitely. We lose the sense of meaning that comes with the futile nature of our existence. We become one with technology. We lose the hardwiring that makes us human. We become emotionless, mere algorithms of efficiency. If we choose this path, we lose ourselves to our own progressive nature. Path 2, enhancement. Genetic engineering does not eliminate diversity, but ensures the health of every individual. The extension of longevity does not make us immortal, but rids us of age-related diseases. Rather than living forever, we live well. Technology does not replace our minds, but stretches our intellectual capacity. If we choose this path, we push the boundary of our biology not to escape what we are, but to enhance it. Our intellect, our compassion, and our progressive nature. We know what we are. We are Homo sapiens. But will we misuse what we are and thus lose it? Or will we harness what we are and thus enhance it? As we stand at this crossroads, let's be wise and recall that what we may be lies in how we harness what we are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. Now let's listen to the educator's questions.
Thank you, Alexandra. I have a question for you. You were talking about humanity as a whole,
Yes.
right? And talking about progress that we've made. But we have to recognize that we are not united. There are many differences among us. What happens with this progress when it is not accessible for everyone? What can we do to solve it?
Thank you for your question. You raise an excellent point. I completely agree with you. We are at a point in time, especially right now, where we are not unified as humans. And simultaneously, we are experiencing extremely quick developments in science and technology that may not be accessible for everyone at the same time. And yes, this is a problem. But at the same time, we cannot step back from our advancements out of a concern that it will not reach everyone. Instead of stepping back and saying, we cannot move forward because we are not sure if this will bring more harm than good, we must ensure that it does bring more good than harm. Genetic engineering is an ethical concern because many people believe that it will bring a physical advantage to some people over others. And until technologies like these do not reach people all over the globe, we are exposing the world to the risk of increased inequality. But the moment we step up as humans, as scientists, and as politicians, and realize that we can harness these technologies and make them accessible to everyone and pick the path of enhancement, we can eliminate the risk of making our current situation worse and instead look towards a future that's significantly better. Thank you.
Last question.
Thank you, Alejandra. So, are you optimistic or are you scared?
I am optimistic. I, at heart, consider myself a scientist, and as someone who is passionate not just about learning about science, but also about communicating it, it is one of my goals in life to destigmatize science. And it's easy to view these developments as dangerous or concerning or as something to be a pessimist about. But the science itself will not bring us harm. How we choose to use it can alter who we are as humans for better or for worse. So as long as we stand at this crossroads and wisely pick the right path and use our technology to enhance ourselves, there is no reason to be a pessimist. There is only optimism in science. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, to all our participants, thank you. You've shared your hearts and minds, and we are truly grateful. Congratulations to you all. Please, let's give them a final round of applause. Now, while our adjudicators deliberate, we will take a brief break, and I will ask you to follow our staff to the space designated for deliberation, and we'll be back shortly. Thank you very much. Yeah, so we're back, and to help us announce this year's winners, we will be welcoming part of the adjudicators. I would like to invite all of the participants to come up on stage. Thank you. Hi. Thank you. Try to make room for everybody. And open far wide. Perfect. Now, to announce our third place, please welcome Carlos Castro. He will give us the honor of announcing our third place. Do we have the microphone or up here? Thank you. Here it is.
Thank you. Congratulations, everyone. So the third place goes to
Need help?
Sophia Padilla.
Congratulations. Woo! A picture in the center? Yeah? Have they taken pictures? No. Together with the, yeah. Thank you. Congratulations. And to announce our second place, please welcome Mayra Flores. Thank you, Mayra. Second place. Do you need me to open it for you? Yeah. Okay. Ready? Yep.
Okay. On behalf of Cambridge University Present Assessment, congratulations to all of you. You have been wonderful. And I'm delighted to present the second place that goes to Emiliano Tornel.
Bravo! Congratulations.
Congratulations, Emiliano.
Thank you. And now to announce our first place, the winner who will be representing Mexico at the International Public Speaking Competition in London next May, will be announced by Mr. Christopher Plummer. Thank you very much. You want to do this? Sure. Give me the mic. You want to take the podium?
Everyone was very, very good. Okay, I have so many 9s and 10s in my line of scoring that I can't tell you how difficult it was to decide. But the winner was Alejandra Ales.
Congratulations, Alejandra. Congratulations, Alejandra. Thank you. Thank you so much. To every single speaker, congratulations. Once again, I'm pretty sure that your parents are very proud of you. You make an amazing work today throughout your journey. Now you left a mark. May this be only the beginning of your public speaking journey, and may your voice continue to echo through the years to come. Thank you all for joining us today, and see you next year. Thank you. Sure. You want to talk to them, to all of them? Yeah. Oh, sorry. Hold on. He would like to add some more words to the students. Thank you. You need a microphone?
Can everybody hear me? I would like to add some words. First of all, you were all fantastic. And you all have fantastic futures ahead of you. Mm-hmm. So good for you, good for everybody. It's interesting, isn't it, that Mexico has so much to be proud of when it comes to the advancement of women. We have a woman president. We have mainly women, though with a notable exception. And it's interesting also, when I first worked in Mexico at Procter & Gamble de Mexico many years ago, most of the people in the marketing department were women. So we have a woman president, we have women contestants, we're doing very, very well. Can I make a couple of suggestions only to our wonderful speakers? First of all, do feel free to use the stage. It's all here. We can use it. And the only other one, and a much more important suggestion in my view, you had so many important things to say. Everything you said was important. But do slow down. Take it a little easier. Don't be afraid of gaps and pauses for emphasis. But otherwise, I was so impressed by the quality of all the contestants. I can't tell you how proud I am to be participating in a small way in this contest. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's give them our last round of applause. Congratulations. See you next year's competition. Thank you very much to everyone. Have a wonderful Saturday. And the best of luck, Alejandra. Alexandra.